What's going on, guys? Getting ready to do a GT3 video on iRacing. Just to compare all of them. We are live streaming on Josh's YouTube, so I'll link that down below. But yeah, just hanging out. Then we gonna drive on dry track, wet track, 2 tracks, and we're gonna we're gonna come up with a conclusion for our top 3 cars and the honorable mention, I guess. So stay tuned for that. So no, it's
they're not that bad. Okay.
Josh went kind of crazy. Got a 4th monitor. What we doing today, bro?
We are going to be going over the GT3 cars in iRacing, even though I'm not very good at driving them. So it should be a great comparison because I'm used to driving things without ABS.
GTE.
So, should be a fun time.
All right, so we are driving. First track is Laguna Seca. It's gonna take a while just because we're doing wet and dry, all the GT3 cars. It's weird though, Josh. Real quick, you want to talk about how it's like you would know better than me, but how some cars on some tracks just don't work for you.
Yeah. So each car, like,
I'm listening. But
I drive a lot of cars with not only like a fixed setup, so I do the GT3 fixed, but I also do the endurance races every week. So I drive it fixed and with a setup.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing that I notice is that some cars are obviously very good at some tracks, and some cars are very bad at some tracks. So, for instance, last week was GT3 at Spa. So on Spa, I was driving a 296. So the 296 is very pointy. It's a very good all-around car. However, when we were driving on Spa, I did realize while we were driving the Mustang, the guys who were driving the Mustangs, on the straight on Spa, they were blowing us away. Mm-hmm. Like when I say blowing us away, like they were driving past us like we were still. So like it was ridiculous. However, the Mustang isn't as good as a well-rounded car as the 296 in turns. Mm-hmm. So on the turns, I'd be able to catch up, but on the straights, it's that balance, right? Some cars are good at some tracks, and some cars just aren't good at that track. George drove Branton's Hatch 2 weeks ago, and apparently the Lamborghini was like super good on Branton's Hatch. Like there's a lot of people driving the Lamborghini on Branton's Hatch for some reason. I don't know why. But he tried other cars, and he said that the Lamborghini just felt the best. So the other thing about it is, like, with all these cars in iRacing that we pay for, we spend a lot of time with them, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that I spend a lot of time driving one car for the most part, and I try to bring that car to every single track that's there that week. Whereas some people, they will jump into whatever the meta is for that week, right? Mm-hmm. And it's really hard because obviously you want to battle for podiums and you want to win. That's what we drive iRacing for, right, guys?
Yeah.
And it's like, you want to sit there and you want to drive the meta car, but you also want to get good in the car that you want to drive. So there's a balance there, but definitely like some cars are just better than others in certain applications, and that's just racing. That's honestly what it is.
Yeah, no doubt.
Setups are a huge thing too. Some cars are better with the setup, some cars than others. We've had endurance races where we run the quali setup, just adding more fuel instead of
like the real endurance
setup. Yeah. So it all depends.
You want to talk about this 4th monitor?
Oh yeah, so I was streaming and making videos, and I just wanted to get a 4th monitor so I could see the chat and the content creation on that monitor.
A lot easier to interact. Yeah, it was either a 4th screen or doing like a tablet somewhere.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I just wanted the 4th screen. The monitor mount for the 4th screen wasn't too expensive. Mm-hmm. Very easy to put together. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, they had a really good sale at Best Buy for this 34-inch. I think I paid like $200, if that. I think it was a little less than $200. So, and I didn't need something really fancy for the 4th monitor. Obviously, all that it's doing is showing telemetry. But the biggest thing that I use it for is those endurance races that I was just talking about, because
Yeah.
you have live data there on the track, and then you have your relative right there too.
Yeah, I like
And
the
then
tire temps and laps.
And I can change whatever I want on
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
it's really helped out with me, George, and Matt when we were doing our first endurance race together.
Watkins Glen, right?
Yeah, because I was sitting there and I was like, hey man, this is your gap to this guy, the gap behind you. And you could do that with the black box.
Mm-hmm.
But the black box for me, I don't even use anymore because I have the telemetry not only on the wheel but up there. So
Yeah.
it's just easier for your eyesight. That's it. At
No,
least
I
for
get
me,
you.
it's just a bit easier. That's it. But
Because the cool thing about it is ultra wide. You can put a lot of information on there. So
yeah, absolutely, and it runs through SimHub, so
Yeah.
you can run whatever you want on there.
Yeah.
Telemetry wise, and I have it pop up immediately when I open up. SimHub already opens up automatically on my wheel.
Mhm.
So when I turn on the computer, SimHub automatically opens.
Mhm.
And because SimHub automatically opens on the wheel, SimHub, once it detects that you're driving in a game,
Mhm.
will also automatically open up on the monitor too.
Mhm.
So it just, ease of use.
Just a quick little thing, huh?
Yeah, the biggest thing about it is I want it to kind of be plug and play, or as a lot of people like to say, turnkey, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what all this is, man.
That turnkey is the best feeling. You remember how hyped I was when I got that monitor?
You know, like, it gets you to drive more, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It gets you to drive more. Like, you remember back in the day when I had my
PS4, the PS5,
when I had
switch
yeah,
it.
but when you first came over, I had to move a bunch of stuff around to get the computer to connect to the rig. Remember, and I had to move just to get it to connect to the rig. I had to move a bunch of stuff around. But the fact that I can sit down in this, I press 3 buttons and then I'm racing, and it literally the computer turns on like that. 3 buttons, I'm racing. That's it. So
pretty killer.
yeah, that's the ease of use. I feel like it gets you to drive more and gets you to practice more. You know, so.
Mhm.
That's
All right.
the craziest thing.
Yeah, we just kicking butt, doing some testing. It's gonna be. I'm gonna be a lot more confident when I get in something that has rear weight, like. So we just working our way through, man.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the Mustang, nice naturally aspirated V8. David, how big is the V8 that's in this car? I forget.
It is a 5-liter V8.
All right, so we got a 5-liter V8 in this thing. We have to kind of mess with these settings here because we've been driving all sorts of cars. Damn, that hood is humongous. All right, 5-liter V8, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what it can put down. We got a 127.9 as the fastest lap so far.
Don't call that lap fast.
The fastest lap so far.
Change the verbiage.
I put down a 128.1, I think, or 128.0.
128.1 or 128.0. Okay, so the one thing that I realized in this car when it first came out, guys, is that the ABS on this car is absolutely ridiculous, first of all.
In a good or bad way?
In a very bad way. You guys who are driving this car normally, it's impressive that you guys are able to drive this car so well because 2 things. One, the gearing is a little weird for me as far as like all the other cars that I drive, but also the fact that, oh god, wow, I have the ABS on 2. Okay, so we need to change that brake bias then. We need to move the brake bias up to the front. And let's see how that does. Come through the corkscrew, gonna take it in 2nd gear. Screaming bald eagles everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I did test this car on ACC. On ACC, it actually felt really nice. I didn't have any problems with it. I do not know why it is sliding like that. But yeah, I did test this car on ACC. On ACC, it was nice. It was nice. Definitely iRacing, as you guys know, is a different beast. Gonna go down to 2, go down to 1 midway. Throttle it out, going into 2, coming back. Gonna brake a tad bit, go down into 2nd gear, start throttling mid-corner here, rotate the car just a little bit. Brake here. Throttle it through. Brakes feel a little bit better here. I think I might have been braking just a little too much. the hood of this car is so damn big to where I can hardly see over it. Break down into 3. Oh, we're sliding here.
The fact that it has 2 slots, that's
Okay, going back up into 4.
I've never seen a car that has a motherboard that has two slots. That's how I know. Yeah, I'll record a fast lap.
Now, I remember when this car first got into IMSA. That's awesome.
I'll record a fast lap.
It's just not as like it's just not as pointy, and I think that's my issue. But the other thing, like, I'm actually not getting any understeer though.
Feed the power in. Gotta go really wide there. It's the weird part, you know, they have like the wet line and drying section. Let's stay focused, let's go quiet here, get a lap I'm happy with. Telling you, car with more, with less aero to the back, I wouldn't be able to drive it. The weight balance and the aero balance really make this car drivable, whether it's wet, dry. Try to transfer that weight with some trail braking. Let's get one more in. Hit these apexes. Oh no. Slower than my other lap. Let me see. 41. A little bit quicker.
As you guys know, with these front engine cars, well, not just the front engine cars, but all these cars, if you hit ABS, you're dead. So let's see what we can kind of do here. Brake, go down to 1. I'm gonna go back up to 2 to get a grippier exit, hopefully. Hopefully. Brake, go back down to 2 here. Just curve on throttle a little bit. Brake, I'm gonna stay in 3 in here. Not throttle it out so much. Up into 4. Brake, nice and early. Go down into 2 to get some more rotation in the car. The car did offset itself. Oh, jeez. The car did offset itself there for a second there. So I didn't get the best exit. I'm going to stay in 3 here. Now, in this test, obviously, as you guys can see, there isn't rubber laid down on the track yet. So I'm able to kind of get close to the apexes to an extent. Oh, I almost died. That was terrible. Brake. I'm going to go back down here too. I can feel the car giving me some trouble here. Oh, this car's hard to master in the wet. Still learning how to drive in the wet here on iRacing. But if we can get around to 140, we're in okay shape for me at least. That's a 141 right there. Abnormal lap because I put my tires in the dirt there.
Alright, what's going on, guys? Getting ready to start our fast lap. Figured I'd throw the Corvette in. C8 Z06 GT3.R. Replaced the C8R GTE class car. More assists. The first 2 years of Corvette and GT3, they actually just ran a regular C8, but they modified. They slowly worked on the electronics. Let's get this fast lap in. All right. Gonna go wide, try to clip this wall going into T1. As I overcook it. Going down Eau Rouge, Radillion. Let's go down this hill. And I'm loving C8R in the dry is just, it's tough. I mean, this is the class and track everyone drives on. GT3 at Spa, but a bunch of different cars and classes that are popular here. As I do this lap, F1 actually just raced here today. So let's see where we can get 5.5 liter flat plane crankshaft V8. Rev's pretty high. Try to not clip that corner. This next lap. I like to get in the low 220s. Should be able to. I'll give it one more lap. Stay off the curve, we should be good.
Go ahead.
GT3 class, man, everybody drives it. It's the most popular for a reason. It got switched to the Le Mans class.
It might actually be one of the more popular cups on iRacing to drive.
I feel like everybody is it's taking over the world.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
it's so bad that everything is that's like the now top class.
It's a good class. It's a really good class. You have the most variety, I think, in the class. So
yeah, basically it's a customer class instead of like there's only 3 of these cars in the world.
Yep.
So anybody can buy it and start.
Yep.
That being said, narrowing it down.
We drove a lot of cars, and I've driven all of the GT3 cars except the Lamborghini. So today, David took a drive through most of them, and we kind of stacked them on what we feel is the best ones and what we feel is like, eh.
So we'll just go straight into 3. You go ahead. What you got at?
Number 1's a 296, top 296, easy 296. On Laguna, I set a what was it, a 124? 124.8?
I feel like you went faster than that.
I think I might have said 124.5 or something like that. And I still had time. So, time to give. So, with that being said, it's like, it's number 1. It feels the best. It rotates the best. It has the best of all the worlds. So, the top speed, like everything, just everything about it, it feels good. It's not like some of the other cars that I drove today. In the wet, it feels good. It's very easy to drive. It's just good. It really is.
Number 1 for me, I would need to get some more seat time with the Corvette, so that's gonna stop me. I'll probably say the Porsche, honestly.
Yeah. Porsche was good when we drove it. Yeah.
For me, just power delivery. It doesn't. I mean, you can lean into that engine. You can rev that. You can rev that bad boy out.
Yep.
But it does. It never felt gutless. Like so. And then that weight on the back of the back wheels really helped. So I got that at 3. At 2, I'll probably say the R8.
Yeah, R8 was pretty good.
Just because
in the wet it was very easy to drive.
Yeah, in the wet it was easy to drive, but I mean, and that's the thing about the comparison. It's wet and dry, not just I can set up Blazer and in the dry and untouchable in the wet or whatever. So that's what I got at number 2. Another part of that too is I know how to get the weight to transfer to the front wheels in the event I do get understeer. So that's what I got at 2. What you got?
So obviously number 1 for me is the 296. Number 2 for me is probably the Vet. The Vet is similar to the 296 to me in that it rotates very well, but I feel like the Vet has a pointier nose. I like cars with pointier noses. I feel like I can get through the apex a little bit better, and the way the car rotates for me is a little bit better than some of the other cars that I've driven. But the Vet, it sounds good. It feels good. I drove it at Watkins Glen. We drove the 6 hours of Glen. I drove that car for 6 hours, and I had no problems with it. And I drove it in the dry. I drove it in the wet. It's a beast, guys. It really is. So that's my number 2.
Number 3, what you got?
Probably the Merc. I do like the Merc. I do. We drove it at Daytona. David's not going to want to talk about Daytona, but I drove it at Daytona. It feels good. The Merc is the pointiest out of the front engine cars to me. The Mustang, it's so twitchy for me. I don't understand why it's so twitchy. It is just under braking. It just wants to get away from me, and I can't predict where it's going. But the Merc, for some reason, it almost drives, like, in my opinion, it almost drives kind of like the mid-engine cars that I like. I can get it to do the things that I want to do. The rotation is good. The torque, however, I will say in the wet, you got to be careful with the throttle input because the torque will kill you, just murder you. And then, in my opinion, it's just easier than the BMW. The BMW has the turbos, and you have to be so careful with those turbos. It's not even funny. So,
number 3 for me, It's between the Vet and the 296.
Wow.
Yeah, that Vet, NA power. I really like NA cars. Like that's one thing like I done grown to really like get into with the GT racing. Like the NA, that power delivery, it just helps me. So I'll probably that in the 296. That's tough. But I mean, I guess the 296 they're tied for third.
You mean number 3 being your number 1, or you mean both of those are tied for last place for you?
They're tied for third for me.
Third for you. Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
okay. All right.
But
that's surprising.
I was very consistent though. Like I said, 27s on in all of them, but I actually set 25 in the Vet.
Surprising.
So, I think I went 26.
David was the most consistent out of all of us. So I would get into the first one that we drove was the Merc, and I think I set at 226.1. Mind you, these cars are all in the same class, right? So they should all be able to set around the same time.
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable in certain cars, obviously, and certain cars do things better than other cars on certain tracks. But for some reason, with the Merc, I set at 226.1. The Porsche, I set at 225.5. I got in the 296, it was like deuces, and I set at 224.4, 224.5.
That's how I felt about the Corvette. It was
right,
just like
right. I'm out.
But
David was able to set pretty consistent lap times as far as across the cars. With the first 3 that we tested, he set 227.3s, if I remember correctly. Obviously, it was on Laguna Seca. If you guys have watched the footage, so.
But yeah, it's really really close between them. 296. And the reason I give the Vet over the 296, even though I didn't have a lot of time in the wet, in the Vet, I just know that NA is gonna help me.
Right.
Since we talk about the Merc, I dropped the ball.
It's racing, bro. Stuff happens, dog. That's it.
I've never been great with front engine cars.
Right.
So that weight transfer, when all the weight goes to the front wheels, you can spin.
It's not even that. It's that a lot of it has to do with David was grinding to get his C-Class license just to do the race. And because he did that, it's not like he had a lot of time to practice. It was literally, he got his C-Class license, I think, on a Thursday or a Friday.
Thursday night.
And then the race was on Saturday. So he only had a day of practice before we got into
Friday night.
Practice Friday night, and then we got into it on Saturday. So along with him not even, being comfortable driving those type of cars at the same time, he didn't get very much practice in.
Yeah,
so
I didn't have a lot.
It's racing. Stuff happens, guys.
But I still prefer
loser.
I still prefer mid-engine cars,
right?
So that wasn't necessarily going to change.
I drove the BMW at Nordschleife 2 weeks ago for the 4 hours in Nordschleife, and I didn't like the BMW.
Mid-engine NA cars is kind of my sweet spot, but there's stuff like the 296, man. I could drive the 296 in any car or any track.
Right.
And that's the thing about this ranking, right? The 296, it has good power, it has a good front end. It's not like the turbo lags and then it boost spikes. They're all very drivable cars.
The 296 doesn't have that problem where the BMW does. Obviously, front engine versus mid engine.
Yeah, front engine.
You step on the gas in the BMW and the turbos kick in, you're kind of dead. But in the 296, you can sit there and you can just apply that throttle smooth and then full throttle and it just goes.
I think it's that ultra wide V6.
That makes sense.
Helping put the weight down.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
So, alright, man. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will be live streaming more stuff, bouncing between me and Josh, and of course spend some time talking about his killer setup. So that being said, we need a chassis like yesterday for 8.
Yeah, you do, dog.
It's pretty bad.
Patreon.
My pedals shifted. The base that the pedals are on shifted.
Just remember, Dave used to make fun of my rig. Now I get to make fun of his.
Hey, man. We're on borrowed time. That's for damn sure. Anyway, Make sure you turn down your force feedback so you're not clipping. Apex Vision out.
We out.